Welcome back again. We are at the webinar with Becky Davidson from United States, and her topic is how to get a prospect to say yes. A few words about Becky. She's a sales and leadership mentor, regional income specialist, natural health advocate, and a genuine thought leader. Becky is a real gem in the field of marketing and sales. Her skill set, mindset, and passion represents an ultimate wealth of potential and possibility. Driven to help business owners to improve their health, build a secondary passive income, and attract more clients for their traditional business, she has made a mastery out of her work. A huge fan of growth and seeing people succeed and become the best versions of themselves. Becky has spent 40 years learning, developing, and growing her skills as an effective communicator and sales professional. Empowering people for 4 decades, she has over 30,000 prospecting connections under her belt. As once shy person, she learned to master the psychology of effective communication to control her the mindset and fall in love with the sales process. It's all about loving what you do. She has worked with an array of clients, from boutique experiential experience and projects with sales leaders and many marketing professionals to ultra high net worth individuals. Becky's work is soaked in variety, creativity, and wisdom. Becky, I now leave the floor to you.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Oh my gosh, I am so excited to be on this panel. And thank you so much to Danko for inviting me into this community and sharing my expertise. I've had an opportunity to listen to some of the other speakers, and they're phenomenal. I'm so excited to re-listen and share my experience. And of course, I have to say, if something's going to go wrong, it's always going to go wrong, right? And we salespeople have to be really good at kind of figuring it out. And today I had a nice little sales presentation, a sales deck to kind of show you and go over some strategies and thoughts. And of course, things went wrong. So you get to just look at me. So I hope I bring value to you. And what I want to do, my goal is to help people improve ratios. So why should you listen to me? So I want to share just a little bit about myself and kind of my journey. I am a salesperson. I am a 40-year seasoned salesperson, a sales professional. And just like she was outlining, I've had well over 30,000 prospecting attempts. I have generated and attracted thousands of customers. And I figured it out the other day. I've spent more time in the sales process and in the sales field than I have in sleeping the last 40 years. I absolutely love this profession. I have been a salesperson, a sales leader, a sales manager, a sales presenter, a sales trainer, a strategist, and I have devoted my entire career to learning this industry and what it takes to help people reach a decision and to improve ratios. Because we all have ratios, right? And we all have, what our ratio is, and we want to improve our ratio. So what I'm talking about today is about getting to yes. And of course, in sales, there's marketing and there's prospecting and sales. There's marketing and sales. And it's kind of a 1-2 punch, and you really have to do both. And I have been listening to a little bit of some of the previous speakers, and they're talking a lot about great marketing strategies and technology. And I agree, technology and marketing is amazing, but at the core, we still have to communicate with people, and we have to give people value and really provide good solutions. I have one saying, and I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Glengarry Glen Ross. And in there's a great line that says, he was talking to a sales team. He said, you got to do ABC, always be closing. Well, I've changed that. What we have to do as sales professionals is always be connecting. ABC, you have to always be connecting. And in the last 40 years, I've spent a lot of time connecting with people. And so what I'm going to share today is how questions are the answer, and what I've learned in my 40 years experience of building businesses, connecting with potential customers and prospects, and how to convert a connection to a great conversation to an awesome customer. And when I got into sales 40 years ago, I was shy, nervous, scared. I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I knew I loved people and I knew that I wanted to be good at sales. One of my first sales jobs, I almost got fired, and very nicely, he said, "Becky, I don't know if this is you. I don't know if you're cut out for this." And I said, "No, I really think I can do this." And I've poured my heart into developing skills. And I had a conversation with someone recently, and they said, "Hey, is it skills or is it natural talent that creates sales?" And I think it's a combination of the two, but you can take someone without natural talent and develop the skills and they can be very successful. But if you have someone that has the natural raw talent but has no skills, you know, the guy that's charismatic, that people just like them, but they don't necessarily develop the skills and the heart for the business, and they blow themselves out because they don't have the nuts and bolts and the skills. So I want to talk about that. And about 20 years ago, 30 years ago, one of my best things that ever happened, I've poured myself into books, strategies, training, but I went through a sales course. It was a 12-week sales course. And in that, I learned the strategy, the skills. And the biggest thing that I have learned is the art of of great conversations that are sprinkled in with amazing questions. And if you can get really good, if I could teach people one thing about sales, it's how to have a great conversation, to sprinkle it in with amazing questions. And if you do that really well, the close is a natural progression, and getting to yes is a natural progression to a great presentation. So there are 5 phases of a great presentation. There's 5 phases that every single customer really needs to go through. There's the attention, interest, conviction, desire, and decision. And we have to take that customer through those phases one step at a time. And we can do that all through automation and webinars. We can do it through Zooms. We can do it face-to-face. We can do it over the phone. There's all these different ways that we can do it. And I'll be honest, I believe that we should all be doing multiple strategies. I call it planes, trains, and automobiles. We want to hit our prospect from a lot of different channels. We want to utilize them all. We want to utilize email. We want to utilize social media. We want to utilize a phone call. We want to utilize a sit-down meeting, a Zoom. We want to use all of those so that you are present. You are building your brand. You are setting the stage for a great conversation that converts to an awesome customer. So questions are the answer, is what I wanted to talk about, and how to take each of those 5 phases and properly sprinkle in great questions, and what those questions can do for you at each of those phases. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those questions and some of the phases and the reasons why you want to ask great, compelling questions. But you can ask great questions through emails. You can ask great questions through reach outs through LinkedIn. And I'm going to give you one example. One gentleman I worked with that is building a transport business, and he was doing a lot of reach outs through LinkedIn and was not having a lot of conversations. People weren't responding to him. And I don't know if you guys are utilizing social media or LinkedIn to reach out to people to start conversations. Always be connecting, always starting conversations, finding people that are interested. And I said, well, send me what you're sending to people. And he was sending out, I think, about 20 a day. And so I read through his message that he was sending, and it was perfectly fine. It was short, sweet, to the point, but it was who he was, what he did, and if you need me, here's my website, or here's my email address, which is completely fine. And I said, if we tweak that and ask a question, they will answer. People were natural communicators. When we're asked a question, it's just automatic for us to answer a question. And so if you're reaching out through email or through automation or through any type of digital strategy, you can still end with a question. So we tweaked his message, same thing, but then at the end we asked, are you the correct person to talk to? Or would you be willing to introduce me? So we asked a really simple question at the end. And the amazing thing is people started answering his question and started responding. And what we want to do when we're grabbing someone's attention is we want to start a conversation. We cannot solve a problem. We cannot share value. We cannot bring value to someone. We cannot close a sale if we do not have an engaged customer that's talking to us. So that is what the questions will do for you in a prospecting, in the attention phase. In the attention, we're just trying to grab their attention. We want to bring awareness. We want them to know that we exist, that we have a solution, that we have, potentially something that might benefit them. The interest phase, we want to create interest. Do they have an interest in what we have? Are they a viable prospect? And so those are questions that are going to ask, hey, is this something you would be open-minded to? Would you be willing to take a look at something? If I was able to, provide value in X, Y, and Z, would you be open to looking? In the interest phase, we're not selling the product. We're not selling the solution. We're selling the look. We're selling the fact that they would be open to looking. One of the things that frustrates me most about salespeople is they want to go from the attention phase to the close, and they just want to skip all the middle phases. But I'm telling you, that's where the action's at. That's where the beauty is at, is really getting to the heart of what their need is, what their want is, what their desire is. And we cannot sell someone anything until they say, I'm interested. I need this. I'm a candidate. I, in some way, shape, or form, could see value in what you have. Because if they do not see value in what we have, then there's no point in going into a presentation. And of course, we can do that a lot through email marketing. We can nurture that contact, that lead through email marketing and sharing, with captions, email captions or headlines that can be powerful. If I was able to do X, hey, I've got a solution. Would this benefit you? Ask questions, because that always piques interest. People don't want to be talked to. We don't want a monologue, but a dialogue. And so we have to get really good at asking great, compelling questions. And so that's the attention interest. That is the interest phase. The conviction phase, of course, that's the facts and features, the benefits. But what I have learned, people do not buy facts and features. They buy the solution and the value that your product has to offer. And if you do not find out what the value is for them, then you cannot create desire. Now, you might throw enough darts at the board that you might hit something, but I do believe that if we get really good at asking those compelling questions throughout the presentation, the yes is a natural progression. And so as I developed myself and developed this questions are the answer mentality, what I learned is my closing ratio improved. And so if I could help you guys improve your closing ratio, you'd want to do that, right? I knew that I did. And that was a solution that I wanted to help people with, is to craft a great conversation, a dialogue, not a monologue, to uncover wants and needs, to intercept objections. One of my favorite parts about using questions and getting to a yes is if we just have a monologue where we're talking, we're sharing, we're giving facts, we never know, how interested they are. They never have a chance to express their objections. And one thing that I have found is people are going to have objections. They're either going to tell you about them or they're not going to tell you about them, and they're going to tell you, I have to think about it. And when you get the objection, I need to think about it, or it's not the right time, or even I don't have the money, most times it's because we did not answer the objection that they truly have. And we have to get to the heart of that. And so questions will help you intercept objections. And we do that through the conviction phase by asking some great questions. For example, if we are addressing, money or time, asking questions like, hey, how quickly are you wanting to move on this? What is your timeline for getting something started? What have you liked? What do you like about what you're using now? What would you like to see happen? We not only want to smoke out objections, but we want to smoke out what I call the value button. So if we can push their value button, that ups their desire. And once they have desire, they're going to close us. They're going to say, well, how do I get started? How much is it? What do I need to do? What's the process of getting it installed or getting it set up? So if we do that presentation properly, asking those great, compelling questions, then once we get towards the end, the close is a natural progression. And so are you good at asking second and third tier questions? I recently had a coaching client ask me to evaluate one of their salespeople. It was a sales owner. It was an owner of a company, and he had a sales lady that was having really poor closing. And he asked me if I would watch a couple of her videos, her demos, and assess it. And she was very professional. She knew her facts, and she shared her facts. And she did ask a couple surface level questions, but most of them were yes or no questions. Hey, do you use this? Are you open to that? Have you tried this? They were all yes or no questions, which you can ask yes or no questions, but we have to dive deeper. Tell me about this. How do you like that? What would be an ideal solution for you? If I was able to do this, would this be of value to you? You have to ask those deeper dive questions to really understand what their need was. And since she did not do those deep dive questions, she had a lot of solutions. And basically, she went through the whole gambit of everything she had to offer. And then at the end, got really uncomfortable because she had no idea what they needed, what they wanted. So if we spend our time in that conviction, that facts and benefits, having, a conversation, a dialogue, and really uncovering what they want, what they need, why they need it, what the value is, then the close is the natural progression. And here's a couple types of questions that I recommend people using that help. Interest-bearing questions. Those are questions like, hey, if I was able to do this, would that be of value to you? Getting little yeses, getting little micro decisions, assumptive questions. That's one thing that's so powerful. I always coach people, instead of saying, hey, can we get together? Hey, are you open to talking? Asking, hey, what's your schedule like this Thursday or Friday? When can we get together? What time is best, morning or afternoon? So I'm assuming that we're good to talk. I'm assuming that they want to talk with me. Now, of course, you have to have already had a little bit of a conversation. You've already had, check the box that they have a little interest. Great. I know that this would be a great fit. When do you have a little time? Would Thursday or Friday work best for you? So asking assumptive questions, instead of asking a hard yes or no question, asking an alternative choice question, which I just did that. Hey, would Thursday work or Friday work? So get really good at asking, would you rather do this? Would you rather do that? I particularly like the alternative choice questions, especially when you're in the body of the presentation and you're trying to determine, how close he is to the close. How interested are they? Are they getting close? So you can say, hey, if we were to work, who would my point of contact be? Should I, email just you or you and Marty both? Would you like me to email both of you? Who all should be involved in the setup process? Who should be involved in the decision-making process? So asking those assumptive and choice questions, because when they start making choices, they start internalizing it as a buying decision. Oh yeah, I would want it in red. Oh, absolutely. I would want 10 stations. Do you want 10 stations or 12 stations? Do you think if you were to go forward with this, would you want it with this or with that? And so help them make those little small buying decisions. Exploratory questions. Why is that important to you? What would be most important about this? Really dive deep, because like I said, if you can sell the value, if you can get to the heart of what they want, why they want it, and what the value is. I always say there's only about 4 or 5 really strong value propositions that people want. Time, You want to save them time, give them time freedom, free up their time, money, make them money, save them money, give them more money options, streamline. Hey, this product does X because it'll streamline your services. That's great. But dive down into the value. The value of that is it's going to free up your time, which then it gives you more time in money-making opportunities to grow your revenue. If you're talking to business owners or people, the biggest thing they want is more money, more time, more freedom, and to grow their revenue easier and faster. So if you can talk how your solution is going to help get them to that, they're going to be all ears and listening. Test the water questions. I love test the water questions. And those just determine how close they are. And sometimes those are alternative choice or helping them make little micro decisions or asking, hey, does this make sense? Are we on the same page? Hey, if we were going to do this, would you want to do it this way or that way? Preemptive to objection. I love, this is probably one of my favorite parts about using questions is, intercepting objections. If you do, so most people only have 3 or 4 common objections. I mean, yeah, sometimes we can get some off the wall objections, time, money. Maybe you have, a part of your solution that is a little wonky, or people always kind of bring it up constantly. You have the same objection over and over again. If you have those 3 or 4. Oh, am I done?
Trying to close up, wrapping up slowly.
Okay. No problem at all. Okay.
Becky, because in 5 minutes we have another speaker, I just wanted to give the opportunity to ask some questions because I do have here. One question was that you put a good point that between attention and close, there are a lot of things happening in between, and especially questions. So on average, between attention and closure, how many questions do you actually need to ask to qualify the lead and move it toward the closure?
Probably the majority of them I spend in the conviction phase because I'm really diving deep. And so as I ask the question, I then share, points regarding, how our solution could help them achieve that goal, that desire, that value they're looking for. On each, the attention, the interest, it might be one question, 1 or 2 questions. In the desire phase, it's just really painting that picture and verifying that picture makes sense to them. They find it valuable. That feels good to them, and really, qualifying that they're at that point where they're interested.
Nice, Becky. And another question is coming up is how to actually overcome the objections of we don't need this right now. That is a typical answer.
Okay. So so I would probably say something like, I totally understand where you're coming from. Do you have a timeline that you're looking for? What is your timeline? And let me ask you this, and it depends on what your solution is. If we were able to show you how we could save you time, save you money, increase revenue, you have to find that value proposition, hit them with a value proposition. Would you be open to taking a look and at least evaluating it and putting it in as a budget number? And so if I feel confident that, because sometimes people use that as a smoke screen because they don't want to book an appointment. And if you can at least get the appointment and say, hey, that's fine, let's go ahead and meet. If I was able to do X, Y, and Z, would you be open to at least evaluating it and get the appointment? Because sometimes through the process of the appointment, you're going to find that they do have the time, interest, and need, and it's not so much a smokescreen ejection.
And one last question only, if I can add, Becky. Your main topic is questions and how to use them smartly in order to qualify and move the prospects through the stage. Typically, how do you know which type of question is right at which scenario? Because you can have infinite questions. So how do you actually think, okay, in this scenario, this route of questioning is the best way in this conversation?
I've been doing this so long, it's kind of like breathing for me now. And I think it's instinctive for me, but I actually have a program that I have created called Questions Are the Answer. And I have a worksheet that I help my clients kind of go through and help them craft their best questions. And it really does take someone with some experience to kind of walk them through the process, especially if they've not done it, because I think people sometimes get nervous about asking questions because they're not sure what rabbit hole it might take them down. But I can help with that. If anyone's interested, have them reach out to me. I'd be happy to share that with your audience.
That would be wonderful, Becky. I'm looking there are no more additional questions. So Moni, back to you.
Yes, thank you, Becky, once again for your presentation. It's an honor to see a woman as well.
Yeah.
Looking forward to see more on the next one.